Today I'm going to be talking about the man who allegedly attempted to assassinate the Prime Minister of Slovakia. Let's begin. Hello, I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today I'm going to be talking about a historical event that recently happened. This is the attempted assassination of the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico. He was shot by a man on earlier this week, and I want to examine the political beliefs of the shooter and try to see analyze why he might have committed the act and what and also look at the political beliefs of Prime Minister Fitzo to see why the shooter might have opposed him. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the attempted assassination itself. On the 15th of May 2024, Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, was shot and critically injured in the central Slovakian town of Handlova in front of its House of Culture after a government meeting. He was hospitalized and stabilized after emergency surgery. The suspect was detained by police at the scene. Now, who is Robert Fico? He is the current Prime Minister of Slovakia. He was elected in 2023. He served in the position from 2006 to 2010 and from 2012 to 2018. He ran for office in 2023 on a populist Eurosceptic platform, having halting military aid to Ukraine and pushing for friendly relations with Russia, while criticizing NATO and the United States and campaigning against migration, non governmental organizations, and LGBT rights. At the time of his shooting, his cabinet was introducing proposals to eliminate a special anti graft prosecutor and take greater control of the public broadcaster. Um, There has been increasing polarization in Slovak politics. Fitzo published a video on the 10th of April this year in order to temper tensions. He accused the the voters of the party, the Progressive Slovakia, of cursing government politicians in the streets and said, "I am just waiting to see when this frustration, which is deepened by Denik N, SME, and Actuality, three news outlets in Slovakia, will turn into the murder of some of the leading government politicians." He also accused these media outlets of literally encouraging the progressive voter to be boorish and aggressive. So we can see that was expecting some violence against politicians and has accused the media of being sympathetic and encouraging of violence by progressive voters. The good thing to know is that as of today, the 18th of May, the condition of Mr. Fitzel is stable but remains serious as the man accused has been is going to face his first court appearance. Defense Minister Robert Kalinak said that several miracles have occurred in the hospital called Banska Bystrica in recent days, coming from the hands of doctors, nurses, and the personnel at the Roosevelt Hospital. And who is the suspect? This is the suspect. His name is Juraj Sintula. He is a 71-year-old writer and poet. Slovakia. 8 years ago, he initiated the creation of a movement called Against Violence. However, in one of his poems, he describes how he grew up to be someone who strikes back. So, this can seem that uh, while he is willing to use violence to defend himself and his view to defend himself, to strike back against someone who strikes him. He probably has also tried to be non-violent and has created this movement called Against Violence. So his previous work, Scintilla previously worked as a security guard, and he has also written a novel called The Message of Sacrifice and is said to be a member of the Society of Slovak Writers. Slovakia's Interior Minister Matus Sutaj Estok, I apologize if I am mispronouncing these names to any Slovakian who is watching this video, told report Slovakia's Interior Minister told reporters that Scintilla was a lone wolf and that the attempt on Mr. Fisso's life was politically motivated. The perpet the initial investigation found the perpetrator's decision was born closely after the presidential election. This is what El País, a Spanish newspaper, says about uh, Centula, Juraj Centula. I'm looking at a Spanish newspaper to see what European media is thinking. In the last decade, Centula was linked to an ultranationalist and pro-Russian paramilitary. He wrote about his contempt for the Roma minority and expressed rejection of this government, whose leader has often been described as a pro-Russian populist who critics worried would change Slovakia's pro-Western course. In a video published in 2016 on Facebook, Scintilla advocated for the creation of armed militias to protect Europeans from the arrival of hundreds of thousands of migrants. TASS has reported. TASS is a Russian news agency. So this way, I'm trying to get uh, both sides, the European Western side and the Russian Eastern side of the person. The assassination attempt on Slovakia's prime minister was politically motivated, the TA3 news channel reported. I do not agree with the Fico government's policy, said the shooter, called Scintilla, as quoted by the television channel. He had opposed the government's policy limiting media freedom. According to the television channel, the man might have plotted the attack on the prime minister during the last month. Mr. Scintilla vehemently condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, dismissing Kremlin assertions of Slavic brotherhood between the two nations. He was also protesting against the government's contentious reforms, notably the abolition of the Special Prosecutor's Office, and the anti-corruption office was shuttered in March by Mr. Fico, who faced accusations of presiding over a mafia state during a previous tenure, according to Telegraph. What we can make of this is that the prime minister was a nationalist and would not want to support Ukraine and its war with Russia, believing that it did not advance Slovakia's national interests, which I agree. Ukraine's conflict with Russia is its own, and it is not something that other countries, including its neighbors, should get involved in. And which is why I'm glad my country has not taken a stance in this conflict, either pro Russia or pro Ukraine. And as for him abolishing a public broadcaster, I can agree with that. I am a libertarian. I believe that the government shouldn't run media. It should uh, instead simply communicate through private media channels, and uh, uh, public broadcaster is often a source of government propaganda. But I also understand the need for the government to have a means to communicate to the citizens without being dependent on private entities who can uh, prevent the government from having access to them. So, but I still believe that uh, private media is superior to state media. State media is not preferable. And him removing the office of the public prosecutor, I think that I have both two minds on that. I think that uh, corruption is always a major issue in governments, and that there need to be institutions and individuals who tackle and punish corruption in the government. But I also know that these institutions can often be used to subvert the current government, not because the government is corrupt, but because these institutions disagree with the ruling party and have their own agendas and are trying to control the government from behind the scenes, like a deep state. This is what happened with President Trump when he was in office in the US. The FBI, CIA, and the national security state opposed him. But yeah, it's a issue that I don't know how to resolve, how to uh, prosecute corruption within the government without such a organization becoming in effect a law unto itself. But I'm in favor of less government, and so I would side with shutting down the public prosecutor. And also, I trust Robert Fico to have Slovakia's best interests in mind. I don't think he is doing this to promote corruption. I think he's doing this to uh, re- reduce the deep state. And he has accused the former president of Slovakia of being an American asset, being biased towards America. So he wants his country to be independent. He is not, I think, pro Russian. I don't think he's been bought out by Russia or has come out in support of Russia. He's not sending any military aid weapons to Russia or supporting them financially for the war, but he's just not supporting Ukraine. And I think this gives a tag of him being pro Russian by the Western media. So, as for the shooter, he is someone with political beliefs that are on both sides of the aisle, both left and right. He is a leftist in that he is supporting Ukraine. He wants Slovakia to protect Ukraine. This is kind of a leftist ideal, which is that the government is supposed to not only serve its own people, but also uh, other countries. This is why leftism is often veers into globalism. It's the whole idea of the big government. They don't want the large government to just have control over its nation's citizens, but also the citizens of other nations. And he also uh, was sympathetic to the progressive Slovakian party, but he's also anti-immigrant and was linked to a Russian paramilitary group in the past, but I don't think he is now. He is also a writer, and his writings were often about peace. So, him speaking about peace, being against violence, shows that he probably was trying to express his views and solve issues in a peaceful manner, but seems that his emotions and anger got the best of him and he committed this act of violence, which is obviously terrible and wrong. And it shows that um, Fitzo may have been right in saying that the media was being too antagonistic towards the government and was hyping up the voters of the Progressive Slovakian Party. I think the media in all countries has to be responsible in how it reports and should not try to incite directly or indirectly any violence against the government. I'm not saying that the Slovakian media definitely did. I don't think they directly did it, and I don't think that they may have intentionally done it, but it is possible that uh, them being anti Fitzo has created a lot of anger in the voters against him, and they may have inadvertently radicalized this man, politically heterodox person, but is strictly pro-Ukraine, and I think that was what pushed him over the line in this act against the Prime Minister of Slovakia. I'm glad Prime Minister Fico is making a recovery as of now. On as I record this video on the 18th of May, 2024, I believe he's still in the hospital. I hope he makes a full recovery and can continue to serve the people of Slovakia for the rest of his term. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Please share your thoughts about this video in the comment section. If you want to see other videos about events of historical importance, click on this playlist. If you want to see my previous video, click here. If you want to see the sources I used for this video, click the links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.